Rally Estonia returned to the WRC after a 1-year absence with some new Rally 1 runners, some familiar faces and some new stages. Let's see what this edition has in store for us, shall we? And we'll start off with the entry list, going through the 11 Rally 1 runners before going into the different categories of Rally 2, Rally 3 and even Rally 4. Our 11-strong Rally 1 field will be opened with number 33 and championship leader Elfyn Evans. And with Seb Ogier not attending this event, the second on the road will be the number 69 of Carlo Rovanperä, teammate to Elfyn Evans. Then it will be the lead 2 Hyundais, Oid Tanak in the 8 in his home event, followed by Thierry Neuville with the number 1 on his car. We then have Takamoto Katsuta from Adrian Fourmeau from Sami Pairi, before the 3 Ford Puma Rally 1s of Gregoire Munster, Josh McAlean and Martin Sesks. The Rally 1 entry list will be rounded out by somebody who's making their Toyota debut. You see, I might have slightly misspoken earlier when I said we had debutants. Technically he is, because this is his first time with the non-hybrid Rally 1 in WRC. And this is his first time with the Toyota, but he was there for the first Rally 1 event with Hyundai. Oliver Solberg is back behind the wheel of a Rally 1 car. He is entered as a non-manufacturer entry for Toyota Gazoo Racing World Rally Team, in the sort of fourth car that Ogier would usually be driving in. He has the number 99 now. He previously ran with 2 as his number. So it's a new number and a new car. Will it see a change in his pace? All but 2 of the 17 Rally 2 cars are entered for WRC2 honours. The top seed being Rupa Korhonen behind the wheel of the Toyota GR Yaris Rally 2. Pals Aldevar is not entered for scoring points, but we get to go through most of the rest of the entry list, who are Lauri Juno in the 24, Mikko Heikkila with the 25, Romain Jurgensen is going to be the FIA Rally Star entrant here, and he's the only Fiesta as well. Then we have the sole Citroen, Diego Ruiloba, before Robert Vivej as the next local driver after Jurgensen. Yuki Yamamoto as the next Toyota, ahead of Jorg Linnemar, who won here 12 months ago. Then we have Egon Kor, Duka Koppanen, Josep Fraus from Nogin, Miguel Zaldivar Jr., Fabio Schwartz, and Bernhard ten Brink. The only other Rally 2 car that is not entered for WRC2 points is the Grenadian national Igor Bolantsev, co-driven by Maxim Belyukov. Bolantsev we have seen in the WRC before. He's mostly competed in his native Russia. However, in 2024 he's taken up Grenadian citizenship as his flag to fly in international competition. He'll be driving a Skoda Fabia R5 provided by ProSpeed, and his previous 2 starts in WRC have both been behind the wheel of Mitsubishi Lancers, in Rally Finland in 2013 and 2015. Now looking to Rally 3, and all 8 of those entrants are entered for WRC 3 honours. Arthur Pellemorg opens up the offering ahead of Nathaniel Brun, and then we have Takumi Matsushita ahead of Karim Kazaz, Andre Martinez Marizalde, Shitara Goto, and then 2 drivers that we will have seen in the ERC. The current points leader, I believe, in ERC3, Timotheusz Ambarovski, and then Grzegorz Bonda will be rounding out the Rally 3 field. We also do have 1 Rally 4 entered by Light Grey, a Peugeot 208 Rally 4. It's not entered for any kind of class honours, but it will be run by Travis Paz and Igor Paz. Now looking at the stages, and mostly based around Tartu, with a couple of stages north and most stages either around or south of it, we can expect a total competitive kilometre of 308.35. With the liaison included, the driver should be doing around 1,240 kilometres of driving this weekend. Shakedown may be a familiar affair for the previous competitors, as it was used last in 2023, the Castor test. 4.08 kilometres, the same distance as it was back in 2023. And then we have the opening test, which will take place on the Thursday evening, starting at 8 o'clock local time. It'll also make an appearance on Saturday night, and it is, unsurprisingly, the Tartu test. It's a very popular opener to the event, and at a distance of 1.76 kilometers, it's about a similar length to what we've seen in previous years. Notably, if you're somebody who played the old WRC games, it's a very familiar test. It's slightly longer on the little bits around the lake, but it's not something that we haven't seen before. Friday is a little bit atypical when it comes to how it's organised. We'll start off with 4 stages, 2 stages repeated before the service park, and then we'll have a couple of stages repeated again before we get to the end of the day. So the running of Peipsiar and Mustfi will be run back to back to back to back before the lunchtime break. Now, starting off, Peipsiar is a 24.35 kilometer test. It was last run in 2023, and it's largely been unchanged since its first appearance in the WRC in 2021. So it's going to be a familiar test for a lot of competitors. Mustfi, the next test at 11.37 kilometers, will be slightly different to its last appearance in the WRC. And the reason for that is a sort of reconfiguration in a way. You see, the older Mustfi test that we saw first in 2021 was initially 12.28 kilometers, then extended to 17.09. And what's happened this time is we start roughly near the end of the test, and then we do about 5 kilometers in reverse before joining up with the old stage for the rest of the stage. But we start and end on main roads as well. We start on the 14107 and we end on the 14101. Then the other stage we've got are the Kamya test, which makes up stage 6 and 7. It is 23.7 kilometers long, which is longer than previous editions. In the ERC last year is 21.31 kilometers long and was slightly longer at the end than last year's edition, but also was slightly shorter at the start. And it's a bit of a similar story when it comes to the previous editions that we've seen in the WRC as well. Typically, this was run on a Sunday, so for a lot of WRC competitors, the first 6 kilometers or so are going to be new. But if you didn't take part in the ERC event last year, the last 7 or so kilometers will be new to some degree as well. Friday's actions will be rounded out by the Elvelin test, 2.5 laps around Elva. We saw this test last year in the ERC, but before that, I think the last appearance was before Rally Estonia became an WRC event, when it was the old Shell Helix Rally Estonia, the candidate event that you'd see some drivers going out to. And in 2019, it was this event, not this stage, because it was one of the jumps in the forest section, that led to an injury that sidelined Elfyn Evans for a few rallies. Saturday opens up with the Ranitsa test, which was last run in the WRC in 2023. It was run in the ERC last year. It's pretty much unchanged, actually, between the different editions. 21.45 kilometers. It will open the morning loops. And the second stage in the morning loops will be the Kanepi test, 17.43 kilometers. It'll be longer than the previous editions that we've seen in the ERC and the WRC. The WRC one is the most familiar. They just basically, you switch the direction around and add on a little bit for the first kilometer or so. That's pretty much the only changes. Then the afternoon loops will be opened up by the famous Odepa test, which features the arena section. It's one that you have in the A Sports WRC, 11.15 kilometers in length. It's unchanged since 2023. 2024, they used some slightly different roads and went through that famous section in reverse. But yeah, if you were somebody who followed the WRC last time we were in Estonia, this is a familiar stage to you. Then you have the Karaski test, 11.97 kilometers long. It's the same as it was more or less the last time the WRC was here, just technically slightly shorter, but that 70 meters or so I think is just at the start of the stage. You will then also see the second round of the Tyler 2 test rounding out Saturday's action. Sunday will open up with a brand new test for our competitors, the Hellenurm test, 11.79 kilometers. Now, if they were part of the candidate era of Shell Helix Rally Estonia, they'll remember it's the shakedown test in 2019 and the first and fourth stage in 2018. The 2018 version, the most familiar, but even then, in both cases, it's the second half of the stage in reverse. It was also the shakedown last year, but that was nearly 4 kilometers of a 12-kilometer test. And again, you reverse in the direction. This promises to have some elevation changes, some sweeping corners, some fast bits, and then some slow stops, especially when you come onto and off of the different main roads. So we can expect all kinds of different action throughout this gravel highway test. We then also have 19 and 20, which have a regroup in the middle of them, not a service, to get ready for the final test. This is the Kariku test, 24.2 kilometers long. In previous editions of Rally Estonia, it's been known as Maigulla. In 2024, it was 14.68 kilometers long, and most of the second half of the stage was used in some way, shape, or form. It appeared under a similar moniker in 2023 and 2022. Back then, it was 10 kilometers long, and there was a stretch between what is around 8.5 kilometers and about 11 kilometers on the current test that was run in the opposite direction. So the majority of the stage will be new in some way, shape, or form for pretty much all of our competitors. Now, like I said, last year this was part of the ERC, and it was part of a it was just a washout, that power stage, that saw a massive change in the leaderboard right at the end, with Jörg Lindemann taking it from Robert Vervege by just 2.2 seconds. So we look back to 2023 and the hybrid era for the most recent kind of form for the WRC here, and it was Carlo Rovanperä that took a win by 52 seconds from Thierry Neuville, with Esa-Pekka Lappi rounding out the podium. Bearing in mind, in 2023, Ott Tänak was, at Ford. He wasn't at Hyundai at the time. Going back to 2022, and Rovanperä won again there. He won by over a minute from Elfyn Evans, with Ott Tänak in third place, nearly 2 minutes off the win. And then in 2021, he ended up picking up the win by nearly a minute from the late Craig Breen. In fact, it was 2020 that Ott Tänak last won here, with the Hyundai i20 Coupe WRC, and then the 2019 and 2018 editions behind the wheel of a Toyota Yaris World Rally car. On those occasions, in second place were Andreas Mikkelsen and Hayden Paddon, and in third place were Citroens. In 2019, it was Esa-Pekka Lappi, and 2018 it was the late Craig Breen. So I guess the question then is, who is a one to watch coming into this event? I mean, you'd be foolish to bet against the two Toyotas at the top of the championship. Both are fast on the gravel events, both have won fast gravel events. Carlo Rovanperä has won, the last 3 editions of this in the WRC. Granted, the changes for this time around are no hybrid and the Hankook rubber. 2 things that Rovanperä has seemed to struggle to adjust to. Elfyn Evans hasn't had the out-and-out pace this time around, so it could be that he's looking to just get some dependable points on the board, and Ott Tänak is probably going to be going all out with nothing to lose. Thierry Neuville's going to try and push a bit. That's the best way that he could try and salvage a title bid at this point. Whilst you could see Adrian Fourmeau pushing a bit hard, you can see Martin Sesk doing quite well. He did well in Poland last year, he did well in his native Latvia when he had his WRC debut last year as well. So, really, the form guide for the Rally 1s is out the window. With the Rally 2s, last year is actually probably the closest thing that we could track onto it, given that if you look at the 2023 form book, none of the podium are competing here in the Rally 2 class. In fact, 2 of them aren't actually on the entry list, and the third one is behind the wheel of a Rally 1 car. Likewise, if you go back to 2022 and we had the WRC2 Open and Junior, the only person who's on the entry list who was in either of those categories back then was driving a Polo, and it's Jörg Linnemar anyway. So Jörg Linnemar is probably one of the ones to watch, as is Robert Vervege. I would say that those two are going to be two of them that you want to keep an eye on over the course of this edition of it in the Rally 2 class. But Rupert Korhonen has been good in the ERC, though whether or not that's because of the MRF tyres and how they work with his GR Yaris Rally 2, we have to wait to see. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a home win. I wouldn't be surprised if Romain Jurgensen has a fantastic performance as well, and then we have an all-Estonian podium in the WRC2 class. But in addition to all of that, Tuukka Koppanen has been having some fine form in the Yaris Rally 2 when he's made his appearances this year. And he's using this as the build-up to get experience to Rally Finland. So you could see him get a couple of good times. They don't expect him to be at the top of the roster at the event's end. Anyway, folks, those are my thoughts, feelings, and observations. Let me know any of yours in the comment section down below. As always, thanks so much for watching and joining, and until next time, it's bye-bye for now.